All right, here's the original number 4 Sound Creation Water Gong. The small indented boss, the radial scraping. This is one of my favorite of the Sound Creations. I have one I've had for about 20 years. That very focused, sort of hollow sound from the center. And as you move out, you bring in more highs, more activity. So my impression of this one, first time meeting this, is it's stiffer than mine, which is probably due to mine gets played all the time. And you should find that with most gongs, whether it's Paiste gongs or Asian gongs or whatever. The more you play them, the more the metal tends to loosen up. Where on mine, if I strike it here with enough force, it opens up really big. Mine would have just been crashing with a hit like that. So this one took a little more force to open up than what I'm used to. Move this over. And that's an important thing, to realize is your gongs will change over time. The metal tends to settle the more you play it. And I found, I guess you could say, to me, it becomes more elastic and it responds better. But the other part of that is we get used to how the gong responds to us and our touch. So it's a combination of things. The gong breaking in, but also, I guess you could say, we break in to how the gong is. So whenever I have a new gong, I usually just play it and play it and play it so I can get to know it. And I've had some gongs that I didn't use out in a concert or in a gong session or anything for a year or two because they didn't sound right. And then eventually it was like, that sounds great. And then I take them out and use them. So that's, you got to break in your stuff and you got to get your ear acquainted to it. A new gong will sound foreign. And you might hear a gong and go, oh, I don't like that. I know a lot of people do that. They buy a gong and they have it for a couple weeks or a month and they want to sell it and get a different gong. And my advice is to just hang in there. Play it and learn it. Sometimes it takes a while to develop a relationship with the gong. And like, this is the first time I've seen any of these gongs. First time I've played them. So it's a very new experience for me. If these were my personal gongs and I took them home and came back in 6 months and did another video, it would be completely different. The sounds would be different. I'd know the nuances of each gong, of each mallet. And again, the gongs would have probably loosened up some. So, and especially with the bronze too. Again, Eric Paiste told me that the bronze tends to settle and change over time, whereas the nickel silver, the pitch and all stays pretty much the same. So part of the nice thing about these is they're very individual. I know one of the big selling marks of any Paiste instrument is that you can buy one and you can buy another and it'll be almost identical. These will be similar, but not as identical as a nickel silver gong or as a cymbal. Okay, so another water gong. This is the number 2 of the bronze, again based on the sound creation. We have a very large shallow boss here, and you can see it's really been heavily hammered here. Some radial scraping on the edge, and this is just a little raised ridge here, not much, and then some deep hammer marks. Concentric rings moving out from where you dropped the stone. That's how I sort of experience the sound. Now that took quite a bit of force to open that up to get it to really sing. Play the outside edge, that dark tone almost disappears completely. That note there. The harder GM3 here. Playing out here near the edge, it really feels like only this part is vibrating. Again, that deep pitch of the gong has disappeared, and it's just all that shh, all that white noise. Try it with the rollers. The way playing on the edge, it's all breathy. That's the sound that really comes out, which is a very different character than any other gong I've played, to really have that big breathy sound. It's almost like a wind gong, but more controlled. And the yarn marimba mallets. Beautiful bell note there. And if you can notice that, I mean, you really do have two completely different playing surfaces and sounds. When you're playing here, you don't get that much edge. When you're playing the edge, you don't get that much center. So a really versatile type gong. Like here's the center again. And that's all you really hear is that pitch, that bell note. But if I play out here, it's a similar note in there, but the whole character has changed. One harder with the vibe mallet. Marimba mallets. This one reminds me a lot of the number one in that it's fairly stiff and very controllable. I like that a lot. This one I would love for improvised and experimental music. Besides gong meditations, that's the other thing I do. I do a lot of improvised, experimental, avant-garde, whatever you want to call it, music. And the possibilities out of this, just playing it for 10 minutes, there's so many tones in there and so much inherent possibility. I really like that. So we'll compare that to the sound creation one. Definitely that water gong character, very similar. Although surprisingly, the sound creation one to me is much stiffer. When I get home, maybe I'll make a recording with my water gong to add to this because it does have a different character to it. Okay, the number 4. Also based on the Sound Creation Water Gong, a similar small area of a reverse boss compared to the other one having that really huge circle, really like this area. And just like the Sound Creation one, the center just activates that center with a very strong bell note. And you hear a few harmonics wanting to jump out. So right here we start to activate activate harmonics, but we still have that nice bass note in there. I would say that both of the water gongs are not really crashy gongs. So if you're looking for a big crash sound, those won't do it. But they have a lot of character. And again, the possibilities of the center being so different from the edge and the rest of the gong. There's a lot of different sounds in there, but you're just not going to get the crashy gong sound. They're very stiff. Very beautiful bell tone there. Hopefully you can hear it. The difference between this and the other one, the number 2, is that bass note doesn't drop out on the edge here. There's still some of that bass note, and this doesn't get as frothy or as much white noise as the other one. I would say this one's even more controllable than the number 2. Very stiff feel. Again, a very controllable feel on this one. I never felt like it was going to get away from me. And with the rollers there, I could have just ridden that, for an hour and just very controlled and kept that sound where it was. Now the yarn marimba mallet. Just to give you a difference, you can hear a lot of highs there. Where here, you still get that very focused sound, but it's all lows. Let's just take the chord one. And again, if you really want to explore your gongs, get an assortment of mallets. It'll make such a difference in everything you can do. you'll notice with the mallets, I'm not holding them at an angle. I'm holding them straight on, straight horizontal, especially with this one to get the full effect of the flat area. Now if I do want to change the sound a little and lessen it, I can tilt it up where I'm only going to be having a small portion plus the stitching here. And it'll change the sound. Now if I move to the full mallet, it's also not just having a selection of mallets, but using them in different ways. Okay, let's compare this to the Sound Creation Water Gong. Successfully captured that water gong character in two very different gongs with the number 2 and the number 4. And again, experimental music, this would be fabulous. I would love to take it out in some improvised situation. For meditation, a beautiful center tone. And one thing I can notice in listening to these gongs is I can hear them in my mind how they would mix with the gongs I already have, the Paiste ones and the different Asian ones I use. And they would fit fine. I don't think there'd be any difficulties.